In this episode, I sit down with Laura Glover. She explains a little bit around suffering with an eating disorder when she was younger, how she managed and dealt with that through training, and also in later life actually being diagnosed with cancer, not once really but twice, and how she's used training and exercise to mentally get her and help her through that situation. Laura, obviously thank you for coming to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I do appreciate it. Appreciate your time coming down here to speak about it. We've talked about your story, and I'm going to leave this kind of space open for you to now go through it.
Yeah.
But it's safe to say like there's a lot of ups and downs.
Definitely.
Yeah, and for me there's two elements to it, and your adversity you've met a couple of times really, but there's two sides to it. One being more of an eating disorder side that you've gone through.
Yep.
Kind of in your earlier time.
Yep.
Getting into fitness, which I want to go through with you. But then there was the kind of bombshell and shock of getting cancer.
Yeah.
And how you dealt with that.
Yeah.
And I know that was a scenario in itself. That was a little bit different.
Absolutely.
To normal as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, I kind of want to run through your journey really. So again, thanks for being here and talking about it. For you, going back then to like the beginning, more so the beginning of when you started getting into fitness.
Yeah.
How did that start for you, and what did that look like?
Yeah, so as a child, I wasn't like a sporty child. I was really quite shy and withdrawn during school. So for me, I would say like fitness didn't really come a part of my life until probably late teens, early 20s. Had quite a turbulent time during my childhood from the age of 14. Parents separated, got divorced, and I decided to remain with my dad. Unfortunately, he had a drink problem, so kind of lived with him being an alcoholic for a few years. And when I hit 17, we had a massive fallout, and he chucked me out basically. And if it wasn't for my mum and my brother and my nan, God rest her soul, I would have been homeless at that point. So I do have to say a big shout out and a thank you to my family, my brother and my mum in particular for that. I felt really lost and confused during that time. Didn't really know what to do. Didn't really want to work. Didn't really want to do anything much at all. Yeah. So I took the plunge and signed up for the army at that point. So I was just turned 18. Like I say, fresh out of the trauma of what had happened at home. And just kind of wanted to escape. Didn't really know what I was signing up for. Not really known many people been in the army before, but really just wanted to get away. Wanted to travel, just wanted to get away from Stoke, get away from kind of my family and stuff. And the training for the army was intense. And I think that for me was kind of the turning point of, I haven't done anything like this before. And I just really enjoyed it. It was more like the heavy lifting stuff. So I had to really practice my pull-ups, push-ups, a lot of carries, obviously running, which unfortunately I still have not found the passion for that. But no, like say the good things about running and kind of cardio. So that was kind of the first insight for me into fitness, to train to go in the army.
Yeah.
Kind of did the 12 weeks and did not really respond very well to being told what to do by the sergeants in the army. So I kind of, absolutely. But kind of realised then that, I liked fitness, I got a passion for that, but fitness with a difference, like not your regular mainstream gyms kind of thing. I wanted something a bit different if I was training. Yeah. So unfortunately at that point, like I say, given where my mental health was at, I was in the early stages, I would say, of like disordered eating and not fueling myself correctly. So even though I passed the training for the army, I just wasn't in the right headspace to be going through anything like that. Additionally, like I had it in my head that I wanted to be a gunner. I wanted to do artillery. I was like determined, and they kind of like 360'd me during the training, and I'm like, no, you're more suited to the intelligence corps. But I was like, you're not telling me what to do. I got a bad attitude, like 18, kind of fresh out of some trauma, was not the right frame of mind to be told what to do. It might have made me, it might have broke me. I didn't give it an opportunity past them 12 weeks. So kind of come out of there and kind of cracked on with life. Got into kind of like outdoor boot camps, that kind of stuff. Sought some counselling for my mental health as well. I would say, like I say, after that point, started getting into the midst of that disordered eating and quite abusing my body quite a bit. So wouldn't eat, drank a lot at weekends. So it was literally like nailing the alcohol, not fueling my body.
Yeah.
Dipping in and out of, like, say, different things in the gym, but not really taking anything seriously. Kind of 2010, I again decided like I wanted to travel. So I left. I went and lived abroad by myself for 9 months. So during that period, like I say, again, dipping in and out of fitness while I was on holiday, seeing if there was opportunities over there. Come back after that experience and kind of went into college and university. So at that point, I was contemplating which element to go down, whether to do fitness or whether to do psychology. Was quite a passion, having like the counselling experience and like my own mental health experiences and the eating disorder. I thought, with psychology an option. Decided, like I say, from there that when I spoke to a careers advisor, they kind of said like, if you did psychology, you'd be one of the 1 million students that wouldn't get a job at the end of it. Have you thought about social work? And I was like, not particularly. So kind of dived into that a little bit. Don't know, like I say, I mean, I did it. And during the period of being in university, very challenging time. Like I say, we had like a lot of placements and stuff where you were getting used to what social work was about. So I kind of used exercise as kind of a form of therapy for me during that point as well. So yes, definitely still exercising.
You know, just going back slightly to things like, so you mentioned things like the eating disorder and stuff. So when did you realise that you had an eating disorder, and what did that look like? I
don't think I ever did. It was, again, luckily being around close friends and family, they got worried. So I think my lowest weight, given I'm about 5'6", my lowest weight was about 6 stone. So, and I started to get like dowdy hair on the back. So all down, like you could see my spine, you could see all my bones and everything. And started to get dowdy hair. And it was only, like I say, kind of reconnecting with my family and getting my relationship back with my mum and my brother, that they were the ones that kind of were worried. I lived on my own at that point as well. So I wouldn't have noticed myself. I didn't weigh myself. I wouldn't, it wouldn't matter if my clothes were loose, etc. I was kind of utilising my money in retail and the bar work to pay for my bills. So food was a bit irrelevant at that point. Addition to that, I think everything that I'd been through with my dad and kind of growing up, it was a bit of a form of control. Like I felt a bit out of control during that point. I lived on my own. I was only like 19 at that point when I was living on my own. Didn't have a clue. I didn't know about bills. I didn't know that, I've got to save a bit of money for food as well as trying to save the bills. So I think it was an element of control rather than kind of picking out kind of, being very strict with my calories or strict with the intake. It was more, do I afford a night out or do I afford my tea? And I'd pick the night out.
Picked the night out.
Yeah, so I was kind of self-harming with alcohol over food. And then I think as I suppose it pointed out to me, like, you're looking really gaunt, really thin. I never sought help for it. I never went to the GP. I kind of did it myself via the counselling route. So when I was kind of talking about the stuff that had gone on in my childhood and early teens, it kind of just naturally came out. But it was like a control thing. And then I was scared of putting on weight, and I was scared of eating certain foods. I completely cut out bread. I'd completely cut out like really any form of carbs. I think the only thing I had was Special K. And usually I'd have that dry, because then I was scared of milk and what milk might do. Used to have like pieces of fruit. So an apple and a yogurt might be for lunch. And then I'd have chicken with sweet chili sauce, because I was told chili would speed up your metabolism. Kind of not put on weight anymore. And I used to like nail the cardio at the gym.
I was going to say, so training wise then, so obviously on a diet of probably very little. What training was you into? Like, what was you trying to do?
Just be small. So anything to make me small. So lots of cardio. HIIT workouts. Walking. So I used to like not get the bus anywhere. I used to walk like to and from work, which is about like 2 miles there, 2 miles back. I'd walk into town, which was like another couple of miles, to try and avoid getting any public transport, just to, you know,
to be as active as
possible. Yeah. And I think more so not just my body, it was more my mind, keeping my mind busy, keeping my mind active and not really acknowledging it. It was only, I think, because I still had it, like I say, when I went abroad, I was still in the midst of it, because it's still like that party scene, and the priority was having enough sleep so you could work your shift in the evening to kind of repeat the cycle over and over again. And I would say it was only as I come back and went back to school, basically went back to college and training for university, that I moved back in with my mum.
Okay.
And we kind of had that sit down and talk through of what's going on. Still then I was quite strict with my food. I used to skip breakfast. I'd have chicken. I was known as the chicken salad at home. So when me, my mum and my brother lived together, if I was doing tea, he'd be like, "Can I swear?" I didn't want to swear. I was like, "Sorry guys, swear we're coming up." He'd be like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, chicken salad again." Because any time that I'd cook, it would be chicken salad. So we ended up like separating everything out. And so when I got a job, I bought my own food when I lived with my mum and my brother. And they'd have like your pies, your chips, your lobby, you know, anything like that, while I'd be chicken salad or salmon and veg.
So did your food intake, so after having a conversation with your mum and kind of realising that you might have an issue with that kind of eating disorder, did then at that point you start eating more food, just of the right food? I think, like I say, I'd always struggled with early mornings. I've always struggled eating in the mornings. That's only probably been okay since I've met my current partner, and he is a massive foodie. So can't kind of get away from the food now. But yeah, I think like the weight slowly creeped on, but because I was training better, it felt better. Like I didn't feel like I was getting fat. Didn't feel like my clothes I didn't feel like my clothes were getting tighter. Still felt good in my clothes. It was just kind of that different element then of nourishing my body with the right stuff. Still, like I say, I had the slump because I wasn't eating breakfast. So I used to like get 11sies, but even then it wasn't like I'd binge. It'd be like a breakfast bar. But you slowly started to like transition onto that and get back to like a normal kind of like food pattern. Do you ever look back at like photos and stuff of that time, and now obviously in the position that you're in now, knowing that you had a like disorder?
Oh yeah, it was poor.
How does it make you feel now looking back at them photos?
I think a bit guilty for the person that I was, and like what I was doing to my body, because the longer term effects, I don't know still if that's contributed to me having my stomach issues that I still suffer with now, or, you know, the risks of osteoporosis that women who have eating disorders have. And additionally, like I say, I've been on contraception for a long, long time. So that combined with not nourishing my body properly does make me feel really guilty. And I think on top of that, abusing alcohol, like I did, it's just a contributing factor. And you just think like, now I'm a lot better than I was. And I think, like I say, obviously I know we're coming on to it later, but like going through my own transformation now, and I've retrained myself. You know, I've trained as a PT myself, you know, fitness and wellness coach. And I think going through that and doing additions on nutrition, understanding the fuel, knowing what a carb is, knowing what protein is, knowing what fats do, helps you kind of break it down and understand like your body needs that fuel even at rest. So you know it now. So I think actually understanding, you know, your BMR and your PAL and them calculations, and sorry for those that don't, I will get the reference of what those breakdowns are. But like knowing I didn't even realise your body would burn calories at rest, you know, before I did all my training and my nutrition, that we need that fuel for our bodies to survive, you know, and I could have risked shutting organs down and all sorts that I hadn't got a clue. I was clueless, you know, early teens, thinking you know the world. And that's one thing that like I felt, you know, thought you knew everything. Would you have a clue? Would you have listened to anyone at the time, like besides from you? What made you listen to your mum then? So when people said... I don't think I really did. I just acknowledged that I think I'd got an issue. Like I don't think... Like I still wasn't eating the calories that I should be eating. I still was very strict. You know, even when they had takeaways at the weekend, I'd refuse. Because I then thought, oh, I'm not having the calories of a takeaway because I'm having a drink. So I'll have a glass of wine rather than I can't double up on calories, so I can't have a bad meal and have wine. So them kind of like thoughts are still there in regards to I'd rather have one or the other, not both.
Yeah, so that's still in there.
So it's still there. Yeah, it's still, but it's healthier because I'm more aware of balance.
Yeah,
it's not then like I know how bad alcohol is for his bodies. I won't ever give it up completely because I do like having a drink, but I'm more aware.
Yeah.
It's empty calories. It doesn't do nothing nutritious for your body. So I think educating myself more has helped me a lot. It still doesn't get rid of the demons. They still are there, especially if I'm stressed or feeling low or feeling a bit crap about myself. That'll be the first thing that'll kind of be more controlled, will be the meals or the food, or I'll cut down on the treats or, whatever like that. So it's still there, but I have definitely managed it better. I would say, like I say, going through my own counselling journey and seeking counselling support helped massively.
How did that help?
100% rate that. Talking to somebody that wasn't directly linked with me.
Yeah.
So actually being able to speak to a stranger that didn't judge me, didn't know my background, didn't know who I was, and I could talk openly and honestly about how I was feeling about certain members of my family or certain friends and not feel judged about how I felt and actually make sense of it, that some of it wasn't my fault. So that helped, like the healing process of understanding my feelings compared to what I was being projected with. So
no, makes sense. Makes sense. For people now, then obviously, like, people do suffer from eating disorders, like, and from what similar to what you've gone through. Like, what would your advice be now to people that are in that situation?
Talk to someone you trust.
Yeah,
I'd like 110%. If I did it early, could have done it sooner for myself, I would have sought out somebody that I trusted and got help. And if you haven't got anybody close in your life that you do trust enough to confide in, there are decent professionals out there. So I think if you can, seek support from a professional and talk to someone, it helps so much. And just to know, like, you're not on your own with it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's hard to identify it yourself as well, isn't it? Like you said, it's just difficult to, like, say I've got this, because you don't always see it yourself.
No, definitely not.
Going on then through the next part, you mentioned in a moment ago around, like, stomach issues and stuff, and you didn't know, kind of from what you've done in the past, if it led to any stomach issues, because I know you've suffered with that. But then there was a certain period of time that it got worse. I felt like it was like in like your kind of your appendix area and stuff, and that kind of went on for about 18 months. And I know where that kind of led to for you. So can you go through what started first with some pains, and then how did that develop?
Yeah, so I think for me it was quite hard to distinguish because I've from day dot, even my mum's told me, I was really difficult to wean as a baby. Always had stomach issues, one thing or the other. If it's not my bowels, it was something else, but there was always pain in my stomach. But this felt very different. So I would say around, I'd say the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, I was hospitalised with this pelvic pain. So it's like all down my right side. It'd go into my leg. I'd be in agony. But additionally to that, it had knocked me out with fatigue. So I'd like go and go and go as much as I could through the pain, like trying my best to do little bits every day. And then it'd just floor me. And I'd be in bed for like a week, five days a week. And once I started to feel a bit better, I'd go to the GP. Obviously then they'd examine me, refer me to the hospital. So the first time that I was in hospital, obviously I hadn't got a clue what was going on. They did their various tests, had blood tests, scans, etc. And they put it down to pelvic inflammation, had antibiotics, sent me on my way. Again, probably during 2016, had flare-ups, but I just thought, it is what it is. Kind of, I'm not going to keep going back. I don't really like the doctors anyway, as probably nobody does, and I didn't want to end up back in hospital, so I kind of just gritted my teeth and cracked on with it until I would say the beginning of 2017. I had the same flare-up that I'd had that previous 18 months ago again. This time, obviously, I was like, well, a lot more confident. I'd done like my own training, I'd been to counselling, kind of got over some of my mental health issues, and it was exactly the same pain. So exactly the same just down my right hand side. It'd radiate across. I'd get really bad bloating, pain in my back, pain down my leg. And again, managed with that pain for a while. It'd floor me and I'd end up in bed for a week. So again, back to the doctors. As soon as they examined me, I'd kind of like reject their hand. So as soon as they'd like to feel my stomach, as soon as they got to the right side, it'd like ricochet their hand off and like, oh, this ain't right. Like that's not normal. So straight up to kind of like the assessment centre at the hospital. And they kept me in for 5 days. So various tests, I'd like CT scans, MRI, blood tests, ultrasounds, internal examinations. I had the works. Still said like, we really can't really find anything. The only thing that we might think it is your appendix. Going through, obviously, like I say, I think I must have repeated myself about 15, 20 times to various consultants and nurses and doctors and stuff during the time I was there. And they, at that point, 5 days in, were willing to discharge me again with medication, send me home, and I put my foot down. I said, no, because this has happened before. And you're telling me when I've been talking to you that the only way to really see what's going on is to open me up. I said, so book me in for the surgery and you're going to have to open me up because I'm not leaving. If I go home and something happens, it's on you, basically. So really pushed. They agreed to it there and then. I think like literally the next day I was on the op table, keyhole surgery. They'd asked me prior to the operation if it was my appendix, am I happy for them to remove it? You don't need your appendix. So I was like, well, if I don't need it, it's not going to cause me any further harm, then you might as well. At least it'll save me coming back and forth. So once I was round from that operation, they kind of said that my appendix was really swollen and it was actually at the point of bursting. So we kind of put it down as appendicitis with at risk of bursting. Obviously, if that had burst, I'd have ended up with blood poisoning. Could have been a very different situation. I might not be here in front of you today. So whilst I was there as well, because obviously I was still suffering with my stomach in various forms, like a lot of bloating, a lot of kind of bowel issues and stuff. So they'd said, we'd refer you to gastroenterology while we're here. So after I was home and I was kind of healing from the keyhole, I got a letter through thinking it was from gastroenterology, hadn't read it properly. And right in the corner when I read it after, it said oncology. I didn't know what oncology meant. So I'd gone to this appointment under the illusion that I was being referred to a gastro specialist to figure out what was up with my stomach. Came into the room to a consultant and a lady sitting in the corner. Macmillan nurse I now know, but didn't know at the time. He'd kind of walked me through that with every appendix removal, they do a biopsy to just check it is appendicitis and there's nothing sinister. Or there's something sinister. And unfortunately for me, there was something sinister. So he told me there that I'd got a neuroendocrine tumour. So I was like, what? Can you speak to me in English, please? And he was like, it's a rare form of bowel cancer. Hits people over 65 who smoke, who drink, unhealthy lifestyles. I was like, okay, I'm 28. I have a drink. I'm not like an alcoholic, but I have a drink. I don't smoke, never smoked. And I look after myself. And at that point of my life, I'd just met my now partner. And we were like nailing the gym. He's a boxer. So I was going boxing twice a week for 2 hours a time. I was doing various HIIT classes. I was doing strength training. My body was in peak performance. So I was like, how the hell has this happened? And he looked at me and he said, I don't know. He goes, to look at you. And obviously, we've done the operation. I operated on you. I know what you look like. He goes, I don't know how it's happened. So from there, I had to have it was like a full MOT, very, it was very rough. It was a lot of poking and prodding, a lot of different nuclear medicine, had to have a colonoscopy. And it was literally like within the space of back to back for like weeks, back to back appointments for weeks. I tried to carry on working through that. So at that point, I was a frontline social worker at this point. And I tried to carry on going to the gym, probably overtrained, started getting like panic attacks because at that point, that consultant had stated to me he wasn't sure what grade the tumour was. And he'd actually graded it incorrectly and had said it was kind of a higher grade than it actually was. So he was worried it had spread to my chest. So obviously the first point of call was like, you've got to have a chest x-ray, you've got to have a chest scan, we've got to get all this into you, you've got to take all these things to like literally clean your body out so we know exactly what we're looking at. And the communication during that was shocking. Like, I didn't know if I was coming or going. They weren't telling me is it terminal? Is it the grade you've said, or is it not? Like, am I got it in my chest? So
you was in like limbo basically.
Absolutely. And even though I carried on training, because then obviously like none of like my family and friends reacted well to it, as you wouldn't, because none of us knew. I couldn't give anybody any answers of, am I dying, am I surviving? I didn't know. And everyone was like, okay, well, if you are, then would you be able to work out? Because if it's in your chest, like, you'd be breathless, you'd be this, you'd be that. And I'm like, then I started having panic attacks, which mimic breathless and everything. So I was like, shit, is it in my chest now? Because I am feeling breathless, I am getting anxious, and actually I can't lift as heavy that I was lifting a couple of weeks ago. Can't do the boxing, and then you start overthinking things. My stomach was still playing up during all that time. And I was back and forth to the hospital like, can you just give me an answer of what's going on? So obviously this was in March 2017. And it was only, I would say, probably around early July when I was referred to the Christie that I was starting to get more definite answers of, I think a nurse rang me and she's like, I don't know why you've been told all of that from your consultant. It's not the case. We think it was in early stages. We believe that it's been contained in your appendix, and it's actually, it was growing in my appendix. And obviously where your appendix sits, it's like at the base of your bowel. So what the worry was, is if it had kind of started to grow upwards, it had got to my bowel, and I was being told like I'd have to have part of my bowel removed, I'd end up with a bag and all of this stuff. Whereas when I was referred to them, they told me the complete opposite. So it was like, well, who's right and who's wrong? I made a Freedom of Information Act request because they'd sent emails to the consultants from the Christian, from the hospital I was under, arguing between themselves.
Like deciding who was right.
Yeah, who was right and who was wrong. And I was like, I'm a person at the middle of this. I'm worried that one of you's telling me it's terminal and it's spread to my chest, and the other one's, no, it's been contained in your appendix, you're all right. Yeah,
so you're in the limbo at this point of basically not knowing if you are actually going to survive or not.
So luckily, when I was referred to the Christie, they took me in for their, like, it's like the top spec scan, and it's like nuclear medicine. So basically you have this medicine and it lights up your insides basically, and detects any cancer cells or any other tumours or any other form of cancer. And after I had that, they'd said, we can't see any further evidence of the disease. It looks like it's been contained. They have to take it to their MDT for kind of sign off of that. And then 12th of July was my all clear date.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's quite that was quite a roller coaster of it's hard to think about like that 4 months. Okay. Yeah, it's tough to think about that 4 months of time not really knowing like what's actually going to happen. How has it made you? Because I know for a fact, because I know and I know the person that you are. How's that scenario made you stronger now? So how's that made you into what you are now, and the journey you're on now, obviously with us, obviously you're training at UP.
The after effects were, I didn't give a shit for a while. Like, I think having the unknown for so long. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Take your time. Honestly, take your time. It's hard, isn't it? Because like I know you now. Didn't know you then. And it's hard to imagine like what that time was like.
It was tough, and I think I was during them 4 months like looking after everybody else.
Yeah, definitely.
But after, it was like finger to the world.
Yeah.
You've done this to me. How dare you do this to me? And it took a while. It took a while to kind of get me back.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think build like that strength and resilience again to crack on. But I did.
Yeah, that's it. So at the time, then after all that, it was kind of like, I'll do what I want.
Oh yeah.
I'll just do what I want.
Yeah, absolutely do what I want. Like literally, I'd kind of, I think during the 4 months really overtrained, and kind of used the gym as a crutch because everybody else was kind of falling apart around me, and I was like, shit, I'm going through this, and what can I do to kind of get my head a bit clearer and a bit busy?
Was that the one place that you could go that you knew that you could control, like be in control of doing something? So it was that control thing a little bit again, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I would say, like I say, it's like the drink probably increased a little bit around that time.
Yeah.
But I thought, like, in my head, I'd counteract it by going to the gym.
Yeah.
Which is really stupid, because
I suppose though that's kind of like similar, then you've gone through that traumatic experience again, and it's kind of similar to the first kind of traumatic experience, wasn't it, where you would use
the triggers,
gym and drink as your like main
crutches.
two kind of go-tos.
Yeah, so a really positive one. Counteracted by the negative one of the drinks. And I think like that, I would say more so coming to UP and being trained by yourself, Adam, is like, that's where I've made more of a connection with that. Like our discussions, our conversations, and actually, you know, reflecting on my journey has been more around like, they are the kind of two polar opposites, the yin and yang. One's like really quite a toxic trait, and the other can really help you. And I think then, you know, going through that, and, you know, I had a really stressful job, you know, frontline social work. It is really tough. I was working with children and families at the time. And then obviously COVID hit not long after I'd had that, you know, coming up to 2020. And I was a bit at like crossroads then, because like I say, I think after the cancer, it took me a while to get me back and kind of like get back into a routine of what do I enjoy, what do I like, you know, because I overtrained, I kind of lost my passion for it. So I was kind of going through the motions of exercise without really having any specific goal.
Just trying to get yourself back and
just
figure
back
yourself
in
out
and sort it out.
Fast forward then to now then, so thinking about where you are now, because I know you now, do you know what I mean? And I know the type of person that you are right now. So what things like, what's it all like for you now? So you're at a much better stage now, mentally, physically. What's the training do for you now? And I'd like to try and finish it on that note, really, on you've got plans for big plans yourself, for what you want to do, and a lot of that's actually with helping other people. So where are you currently at now?
So I think,
in terms of your,
like I say, obviously I trained during COVID to do my fitness and nutrition qualification. And at that time, wasn't happy with the career that I was in. So kind of did part-time at a studio and part-time management in social work. I got offered an opportunity during that time, which kind of has led me to this journey, and kind of qualified, but then didn't do anything with the fitness and nutrition qualification. It was only, like I say, during the end of last year, so October time, round 2, I got diagnosed with skin cancer at the end of last year. That didn't feel as tough as the neuroendocrine, because I think reading and researching around skin cancer, there's a lot higher success rate. It's not rare. It was a mole that a lot of my family and friends have been worried about. So that, although it felt shit, because again, it was cancer, it felt a lot better. But I think, again, whacked things into perspective for me and made me realise I was suffering burnout with my current, with my job at the time. I could realise I was burnt out, I was isolated. That on top of then that diagnosis of skin cancer made me hand my notice in. And then I made the decision over Christmas. I'd come in to see UP and had my consultation in October with a plan to start with yourself in January. Everything happens for a reason.
Definitely.
So as of the 6th of January, the day I kind of started with you was my last day at work, and I made the decision to go self-employed. And Laura K Fitness was born. So my plan, like moving forward now, is to try and get, like I say, full-time PT. And then work on offering wellness days and wellness retreats for people under Laura K Fitness umbrella. So like my plan going forward now is like trying to find others to collaborate with around like fitness and wellness. We're starting to do like mindfulness walks, and we want to do retreats. partnering with my mum on a few of them things because she's a psychotherapist, so she's bringing like in breath work and that mindfulness kind of things. For me, it's more so kind of like the fitness element, so I want to kind of train in Pilates and yoga. I want to do like cold water therapy for people, take them through the paces on like boxing, kettlebell workout, that kind of stuff. So this is like my new venture now that's 5 weeks in. So very new, and I'm nervous, got like anxiety about finances now, so it's all new worries.
That's it. Sometimes you've just got to start again.
And I think this is my time. I think like meeting you and talking to you about like my plans and stuff has just come at the right time, and doing this transformation for me, actually being a little bit selfish and doing something for me for once, has really put things into perspective. Like, I feel I've done transformations in the past, and how I feel working with you 5 weeks in, incredible. Like, it's done wonders for my mental health. I'm hungry. Don't like the diet phase.
Not too hungry.
But it's nice to feel hungry and not feel like I'm doing it for control.
Yeah,
like,
it's
that's
different.
The good thing, that actually I want more food, which I never actually at the age of 36 thought I'd ever say in my life, that I'm hungry for more. But I think I'm hungry for more of life, and this different opportunity now to actually empower and help people on their journey. So help people who've had adversities, who've had trauma, who've suffered with the mental health, you know, might be in an unsupportive environment at home, might not have that support network around them. Like, my aim is to give that holistic view on fitness and wellness, and not just work on thrashing people at the gym and giving them a beasting of a workout. Like, I want to be there to support people both physically and mentally, with my little hashtag healthy body, healthy mind.
There you go. Well, it'll all be on there anyway in terms of the notes and all that stuff. But I think, like, looking back at that, you've gone through the first trauma, you've gone through all that side of it. You've always used fitness. You've always used it in like good ways and bad ways, like kind of like punishment ways, but also good ways. And you've also always used alcohol alongside it, and you've done that twice. And then kind of like the third time round, when you've got cancer again, the difference this time round, from what I can hear from you, is that you've kind of gone, no, like, I'm not going to do that again. No. And you've actually like done a bit of a 360 on it yourself.
And I will actually say I've not touched a drop of alcohol since the 6th of January. So
I hope not, because it's not on your strapper. So all right, I hope you haven't.
I have not touched anything since the 6th of Jan.
No, honestly, you've done...
It's just that different perspective now, because I think it's that, like, I'm not, even when we finished, it's not something that I'm like, oh, the first thing I want to do is go and have a glass of Prosecco. It's more so I can treat myself to a new gym fit, or...
you've got a new mentality now, and I think the key factor is that the training and the fitness and all the different things that you've done, like, that's always helped you throughout all of it. But now it's like, it's helping you in like a really positive way. And it's now like, not only that you're helping yourself with it, as you say, you're helping others, and you've got your Laura Kay Fitness that people can start looking at, and you've got the retreats that you're going to do. So you've literally like turned it around, and this time around you've used it all for good.
And that's my aim, and that's what I want to do. Like, you know, I'm there for help and empower people that are ready to start on their own journey, you know, want their own transformation, not just physically, but mentally.
And you can go through your experience with everyone, and hopefully people will listen to this as well. And as I say, people will listen to this that have been in both scenarios to what you've been. It's like that kind of, it is that eating disorders is very common. It is common. And again, people that have had things like cancer and stuff as well. And it's, I think your journey, obviously, like I said, it's had loads of different ups and downs, and that's probably only touching the surface. Do you know what I mean? That's only touching the surface. But honestly, you really need to be proud of what you're doing, and you know you've got me in your corner now until the end of this and beyond. So you just, you keep doing what you're doing, and I know that your retreats and everything like that, like, I know you as a person now, I know for a fact that's going to be good. That's going to be good for you and for others. So no, thank you for sharing.
Send you the information so we can pop it in the link.
Yeah, it's all going to be in there.
Please follow me, guys.
Honestly, thank you for sharing it all.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Apologies for getting upset.
No worries. Right. Cheers.
Thank you.